Okay, I have 1 o'clock, guys. Anybody ready to play today? Denny Grimes here, coming to you from my studio in Southwest Florida. I'm trusting thousands of people to be watching this via YouTube, and I appreciate you going to my YouTube channel. Yes, it's mastery level role play. What's mastery mean? Well, what we want to do is dig down into some concepts. I'm in the process of writing a book. Finally, we're talking about the physics of real estate, and I'll be sharing those concepts with you as I always do. And if you're watching and you would like to join us, it's pretty simple. Get a copy of the QR code there, or just go to the URL, dennysmastery.com, and you'll get right in. Today is the 13th of September. It is Friday the 13th, and nothing but good luck for us as we're going to learn something today. And here we go. There's the YouTube channel, the Denny Grimes, the Mastery of Real Estate. And I'd like to start as you think about what you'd like to talk about with the thought of the day. In fact, if you want to participate, we have a small group here. We got 15 people. Well, maybe only 8 people, and the rest are AI people taking notes, the bots, which I don't understand at all. I'm afraid they're going to take over my show one day. I want to ask you some questions. How aware are you of what's going on? Because I think our level of awareness will help us in conversations, which we'll be doing here in a little bit. I just did this exercise with my team today. So if you want to put in the chat, you can do it, or just on a piece of paper. I'd love you to put it in the chat so we can watch it. So here's question number 1. How aware are you? And let me get my chat up here. Where are you of interest rates? So if you know within 1/10 of a point, don't look it up, don't cheat. What are interest rates today? Now I know that could be a little bit. I'm going to go per Freddie Mac. Just put it in there, what you think it is, see how close you are to 1/10 of a point. That's question 1. Question 2. Let's just go back a year. This is September, so let's just go fast forward to October. What were they from your memory a year ago, October 2023? So I see some numbers coming in the chat. Great way to go. Now, what were they in October of 2023? Take a wild guess at that. So, and I asked my team the question, what is the median sales price where we are? It's not really relevant to where you are. You should know. So here's what I found out. And let's just look here. Interest rates, I got 5.0, Brad, 5%. And I'm talking about 30 years, 6.25, and maybe last year, 7.75. Judith, that's pretty close. According to Freddie Mac, they're 6.2 today. And you go back to October of last year, they were 7.8. So that's more than a 1.5 lower than from the peak. Now, I don't know what's going on in your market. You should also look back on what's going on with your median home sale price, because at the peak of the market, we were at 470. Now we're down to 390. It's $80,000 difference, plus a 1.5. So what good is that information? So my thought of the day is this. You should have that information, because I bet you have some buyers that are sitting on the fence. What kind of social post could you create? Maybe a question, give away either, or maybe a Tesla, or if you don't, maybe a year supply of Jiffy Pop. How about that? If you can come the closest to make a guess on how much interest rates have come down in the last 12 months, and you give it an hour, and maybe people won't cheat. I don't know. Get it interactive. I bet you the majority of buyers out there do not know down. In fact, I heard and some lenders are offering sub-6 mortgage rates. So what do you guys think? Do you think that information is handy to have to create a little urgency, to create a little more reality in the market is not as ugly as people think it is? What are your thoughts on that?
That's great information. I think it's a big thing, because you caught me off guard. I really wasn't sure what it was at all last year.
Here's something else that I want you to know. Thank you, Brad. Let me give you one more thing. And I'm not, my wife has got me hooked on listening to Housing Wire. It's a podcast, free every day. It's about 30 minutes. Probably one of the best I've heard. And I'm not a brainiac that goes into all kinds of different like statistics and things. However, it gives you a feel for things. Now, again, the Fed is going to reduce rates most likely when they meet in the next week or so. However, I want you to know right now that the rates we're seeing, the low sixes, maybe upper fives, that rate cut is already baked in. So we can have a role play today. Would be a good one to have if you want to work on it. A buyer sees that. When the buyers start to see the rates to fall, what do you think buyers want to do? Anyone taking a wild guess?
They want to wait.
There you go. Anybody see the Eddie Murphy movie, Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd? See, when you're out looking for at Christmas time for the G.I. Joe with a Kung Fu grip, you know, and they're hard to find. You got to buy them before you got to buy them before Christmas, right? So buyers will want to wait for that to go on sale. David, good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a year. So can you have the conversation with a buyer and why they shouldn't wait? Now, on the other side, it's like we're getting pummeled by both sides, buyer and sellers. When sellers hear rates are about to fall or are falling, beware. Or like I like to say, because everything's a movie to me or a TV show, danger, Will Robinson. Sellers will want to think when you go to have them get a price adjustment, they're going to say, well, I don't think I'm going to adjust now because better times, happy days are right around the corner. So we have to have the wisdom how to handle that. So who would like to go first? Matt, do you have any comments on that before we start?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, this is just me. I think that all realtors should have a financial education. And I don't mean go to school for accounting or things like understand how these things work. You know, the federal funds rate is the rate at which lenders borrow money. It's wholesale cost of money. So if the federal funds rate is 5.5%, typically lenders like to pad that profit by 2%. So a lender's margin's 2% to the consumer. So if the federal funds rate 5.5, that's why interest rates are about 7.5 to 8%. What we have right now, guys, for the past month and a half, rates have been going down. That was not because of the Fed fund rate lowering. That was speculative reductions by the lenders, thinking that the Fed was going to lower rates by more than 1/4 basis point in this next meeting. So they were getting ahead of the curve by lowering rates to incite demand. Well, now that the Fed is speculating, or people are speculating the Fed's only going to decrease rates by 1/4 basis point, if they don't decrease it by more than 1/4 basis point, we might not see interest rates drop much further than they have right now. So to Denny's point, if buyers are saying, well, I'm going to wait until it continues to drop, they might not drop much further because they've already dropped by over a point in preparation for a future Fed fund rate decrease. Does that make sense?
So I'm going to put a warning label on this video. And so if you just listen to what Matt had to say and you understand it, do not share that with a buyer or seller. All right? Because they'll just like poke your eye out with a spoon.
Right.
That's saying you should know. And here's my other second warning label. If you don't understand what he said, don't take a financial course at a college to understand it.
No.
Just show up here at Recon, mastery class. We'll let you know what's happening. But you should know. In fact, I do my own mortgage calculations, guys. I don't call my mortgage broker. I know how to figure out amortizations, blah, blah, blah. So let's get into some conversations, because knowledge for knowledge sake is no good. That's only good for Jeopardy. It's knowledge for helping and knowledge for working and making money. So hands up. Brad, you're up first. First of all, Brad, on a coaching call, would you like to demonstrate your improvement, please? Because you're all prettied up. You got your hair combed and everything. Would you like to demonstrate your outbound call? And because I know you've been practicing it, we've been working. We spent 30 minutes on about 7 words, Matt.
Yeah, let's go. All right. So ring, ring, ring.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you standing?
Oh, no, I'm not standing. All right, let's go.
Just make sure you're dressed. Okay.
Yeah, I always am.
All right, here we go. Go.
So yeah, are you the owner of the home for sale?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're Denny, you're going?
You bet.
Good. Thank you for taking the call. I appreciate it. I'm Brad with Tri-Lakes Realty here in Springfield. And the reason for my call is twofold. One, I want to know if you're working with realtors when they bring a buyer to you.
Yeah. I mean, if you bring me a buyer, I'll see you paid.
Great, great, very good. And then time shows that if you don't sell the home on your own, you will more than likely end up using a realtor. How long do you plan on selling the home, trying to sell the home on your own?
I haven't given myself a time frame yet. We're so new to the market, we're not there.
Great, great, great.
All right, I'm gonna stop you there, Brad. That's a bull ride plus. So how do you do? How do you do on a 1 to 10?
1 to 10, I did an 8. 8. I had a couple of ums in there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as polished as I should have been. But it happens every time when I'm on the screen. When I'm in front of people, I seem to do okay. Do a lot better. But anyway, yep.
I was just gonna say, I was gonna ask you, do you feel intimidated? Be brutally honest. Do you feel intimidated when you role play on here?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't really understand why, because I'm in front of people all the time. But yes, I'd answer that question. Yes, I think it's just because I want to be perfect on here. And
right.
When I'm in the real world, the people on the other side of me really don't know what to expect.
Sure. Yeah. Can I give you some advice?
Sure.
I'm trying to be very intentional with my words. So somebody made a comment the other day in Recon that Matthew's a pro, and I don't like I always try to maintain a stasis of radical humility and no ego. I really mean that. I don't think that I'm better than anybody. What I put in the chat in response to somebody saying I'm a pro was I've become an expert at getting punched in the mouth, where I've learned to fall in love with it. So the elevated senses you feel to be perfect, what I would ask, that's ego. And without getting going down a path of enlightening people on stoicism and being detached from outcomes, your ego is the thing that needs to feel right, to feel perfect, to feel justified. When you're an ego, you're focusing on yourself. Ego's about me. I want Brad to look good, damn it. Brad's going to sound good. Okay? Remove that. And how do you remove that? Every day, I've got visual cues you can't see on my vision board. This whole wall in my office is a vision board, whole wall. And I've got cues. No ego. No ego. Be more interested than interesting. How can I help? How can I serve? In order to remove ego, you have to be in service of others. So even when you're role playing, I want to give you this cue, Brad, because I used to do the same thing, and I can feel it coming off of you and other people. As soon as you're going to pick up that phone, or as soon as you're going to role play, whether it be me, Denny, anybody else, lose the ego. Say no ego. How can I serve you? It completely changes the context, and it completely changes the paradigm of that conversation, because you're now getting in service of other people, not focused on, oh man, I hope Brad looks good here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, it's perfect. No ego. How can I help others? How can I help you? No ego.
And you can even write it down. I write it on my desk every day, because I have I have PVC, or not PVC. I have plexiglass on my desk, and I write on it with permanent marker before I start lead generating. No ego. I write, the obstacle is the way, meaning if I don't want to do something, you're going to do it. That's the way. And then the last thing I write on there is, how can I serve?
Great advice. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. All right, so let's go. I'm going to be a buyer. I'm going to be a buyer right now. I've got I want you to, who wants to handle buyer objection? Raise your hand. You will be the agent. I will give you the objection after I pick out who the agent is. Doug, you ready to go? Doug in Tampa?
Denny, I am, and maybe you guys can help me. I don't see a way to raise my hand. I've been trying to do that.
Watch this.
Normally there's an option on the bottom here, but
What, Brad, Doug, watch.
okay, fair enough. But
Come on, we're old
but
school.
you know what I'm asking. Yeah.
I do. Well, we'll work on
Okay.
that. We'll work
Yeah.
on that after role play. All right, you're the agent. Now remember what we're doing here, guys, is we're doing question-based, listening enhanced conversations, following the model, isolate, acknowledge, isolate, answer, close. Okay, so we are Brad, we are at the table. Actually, what'd you say? We're at Starbucks, and I happen to see your real estate name tag on. We're sitting down, and I say, Doug, you're a real estate agent here in town.
I am.
Well, that's interesting. I just got a job here with American Airlines and working out of the airport, and I believe my family and I are going to be moving soon if I decide to take the job. But I'm a little bit concerned about buying too early. We may consider rent. I just want to get your take on what your thoughts are.
And what is your main concern, Denny?
Well, I've been trying to get a job in Florida for some time, and we've got family close by, and this will be one of my last moves. I don't expect to be transferred, so I don't want to buy a house. I'm not going to buy it and flip it. I don't want to buy a house too early, meaning my last house, I've got a 3% interest rate. Interest rates are dropping. It may be wise for me to rent a year.
Okay, well, Denny, I'm old enough and been around long enough when I can remember when interest rates were 18%. And I too have had a home with a 3% interest rate. I currently have one at 6%. Denny, just in my opinion, I think that 6% may be pretty close to our new norm.
I'm going to pause you. Can I pause you, Doug?
Sure.
Okay, good. Look at we're mastery. We've got an hour. We have more than like 90 seconds to do this. A couple of different things. Has anyone ever grown up with grandparents that told you how they had to walk to school uphill both ways in the blowing snow? Did it matter to you?
Probably not until I was older.
Now, what's interesting, and I see this as a generational thing, Doug. So it doesn't look like you just graduated high school. So we're probably in the same baby boomerish era. That is a very common thing that we used to do all the time as far as building rapport, what we're attempting to do. Hey, look, I'm like you, you're like me, which is all right. However, I think as the better we get polished in confidence, we can probably get to the essence of the conversation without all of that. Number two, I'll say, and Matt may have something to say too, but number two is you made a statement about that's about as low as they're going to get. One of my rules in my conversations is we never predict the future. Because of my 40 years, I have learned that I don't know what's going to happen next. And one of the kisses of death in real estate is when it's easy to say what you think is going to happen to help them buy, but sometime in the future, they may call you to help them sell, and they will remember your prediction of the market. And it was just that, but they may hold it against you. And I didn't like that. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much. Yes, it does.
So I never state anything that's going to happen. I will state a trend. In fact, we talked about this, I think, last time. As a weather person, we can say, here's the forecast based on the computer models. You can say this is the way the direction's going, but I wouldn't make statements that you can't back up. Matt?
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So why do I say that? They don't give a crap what you paid for interest rates in the late 70s and 80s. That it's because it's just like, well, yeah, my grandma, she was alive during the Dust Bowl, and if you're gonna relate and build rapport, you I wouldn't make comparisons like that because it's like, well, duh, Doug. Yeah, I know they paid 18%, but that's not now.
They used to cook with wood too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm not saying that disparaging towards you.
No.
You'll find yourself, a lot of people, when you start making those comparisons, you're creating an argument that wasn't there to begin with. Because then they'll say, but in their mind, they'll say, well, yeah, but your grandma paid $70,000 for that 18% interest rate, meaning $70,000 for the home. And so you're creating arguments that don't need to be had. One, two, last thing. Denny, what was your second point? It was.
Hey, this is going to be my last home.
Oh yeah. So the interest rates, I think this is going to be as low as they ever go. Famous last words of real estate. And guys, remember this, write this down, tattoo it on your forehead in invisible ink and look at it from time to time. Famous last words. But you said.
Yep.
If you ever have a client that says, but you said, you created that problem. So when they say, well, when you say, well, you know, I think this is about the new norm. Well, there were a lot of times 20 years ago in my career where I told people a lot of things and I stopped doing it really quickly because I heard, but you said one time and realized this is only ever going to go bad for me.
Yeah, it's not a good referral source.
No, not at all. Well, and I'll one thing. I'll end with this. Just had a conversation yesterday with an investor from New Jersey who's investing in our local market where Denny and I are. And up in Jersey, most of the homes are similar in that area, so they can go on price per square foot. You can't do that in the Pinellas market. Well, Doug, you know, you're in Tampa. You can't go price per square foot in the Pinellas market because you got a 100-year-old home next to a home built in 1970, next to a home built in 2024. You can't go on price per square foot because you'll have functionally obsolescent floor plans. Okay, so that agent or that consumer was misadvised by another realtor and told, oh, you can do this. So that realtor burned themselves completely. But then lastly, I'm sure you all recall in 2020, when the COVID pandemic locked down the world, how many agents do you remember? I remember them vividly. An agent named David specifically that told me the housing market was going to crumble and the world was going to end. And he was singing that from a mountaintop. That's before the values went up. How stupid do you think he looked to his clients? How many clients do you think he lost?
So thanks for echoing my points there, Matt. And again, when you show me you're pretty good at winning the lottery 2 out of 4 weeks, I'll listen to your predictions. All right, so let's do this again. I've got to see cameras on. Denise, Sherry, I know with sunglasses, your name's not Sherry, but you've come up. David, nice to see you again. Brad, who's next? Denise, are you ready to role play with us?
We'll give it a try.
Okay, I'm a bold coach. Don't be doing that. There is no try. Okay, so, all right, now again, I've got the model up here, and it's going to be the same. I'm going to take the same scenario. Doug will get to hear it a different way. All right, here we go. Hey, listen, I see your name tag. I'm thinking about, I've got a job transfer coming here in the next 60 days. I'm pretty excited about it, and I see you're in real estate. I don't know much about the Tampa area, but can you mind if I ask you a couple questions, Denise?
Sure.
I've noticed that rates are coming down a little bit, and I guess that probably what I'm guessing is the election coming up probably would be a good time to wait. So what do you think about if I rent for a year or own? What would you recommend?
Denny, that's a great question. So you're planning on moving to the Tampa area. When do you plan on doing that?
Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. And I have no timer running. I did say that. You missed it.
I'm so sorry. Job transfer, Tampa area.
Who heard it? Who heard it? 60 days.
Oh, 60 days.
That's okay. No harm, no foul.
Okay,
This is a common mistake that what I have learned after doing this for 4 years, I'm listening better, and I am shocked how many little tidbits and clues they're giving me that I would have missed.
okay.
All right. So anyway, yeah, 60 days, and you know, I've got family close by, so I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So I'm just kind of curious, you know, what your thoughts are.
So you're gonna be moving here in the next 60 days. Is your whole family coming with you on this job transfer, or are they going to be staying where you're moving from?
Well, all my kids are grown, so I'm thinking about bringing my wife. I'm not really sure.
Okay, so what's more important to you? What's more important to you, to own or to rent a home?
Well, eventually I want to own, but I understand rates are falling, so I think maybe it might be a good time to wait. And if rates don't fall, I think prices will fall. So either way, I think I win.
So what rate would you feel comfortable purchasing at?
Well, I've got 3% now. I don't think we're going to see that.
Well, I understand. And so what rate do you feel you'd be comfortable purchasing at?
I don't know. I guess probably 5 or anything 5 or less.
Okay. Will you be selling your home when you move here to Tampa?
Oh, yes, but we don't have to sell it.
Okay. So you won't be using any equity from your existing home to make this purchase?
No.
Okay.
Where are we going?
I'm trying to avoid it's rent or own, and I don't know how to get out of that because it's 60 days. So I don't know how to get out of that. And I don't think the election is relevant.
Okay. Now again, here's a great, what you're doing that's great. There's a temptation for agents to start telling me stuff.
Telling you your story.
Yeah, I'll kind of, I mean, no offense, Doug, but whatever, and say, yeah, the rates is probably already down and blah, blah, blah. So the issue is, and we're going to go on and let's build on this. It's what you ask. And so what I love about what you were doing, Denise, is you were resisting telling me something which had been natural. You are trying to come up with what you should be asking. So David, you want to give it a shot?
Are we starting from the top?
Yeah. Did you hear the rest of it? Because I don't want to have to repeat all that. So where would you take me? I'm thinking about in any scenario, a buyer is going to say, hey, look, I think, rates are coming down. I think it'd be better off waiting. That's the essence of the objection.
Well, Denny, you shared with me that you only have 60 days. How long are you willing to wait for 5%? What happens if you don't see your 5%?
Well, I can rent a year.
Right.
That's fair. Yes, you certainly can do that. Let me ask you this question. Is it the rate or how much you pay per month?
It's really neither. There's a lot of people in this position. I can afford it. It's not an affordability issue. I don't want to buy at the wrong time. No one wants to buy and say, oh, I should have waited to buy the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip at Black Friday.
Unfortunately, Denny, we don't have a crystal ball. We can't see into the future and see what's going to happen. But what happens if what happens if the rates never do get to that point? How much money would you have been spending by renting and losing, not building equity, than you would have if you would have purchased right now?
All right. So I kind of like this format a little bit, and we can kind of go tit for tat. When you asked me that question, what was the focus of your question? Money. Money isn't my issue. What is my issue?
Time.
No. Who knows what my issue is?
Fear of making a mistake.
There you go. I don't want to buy at the wrong time. Not money. Anybody have a question for me?
My question would have been, I would have went the direction of, hey, the interest rates are a little bit lower than they were this time last year. The amount of money you're gonna, let's calculate the amount of money you're gonna pay in rent versus lose in equity. And then I was gonna go, a year down the road, you could refinance, or 2 years down the road, you could refinance and get a lower rate. That's where I was gonna go with it.
But you're telling me about the dance school you're gonna open, and I have no interest in dance.
Can somebody please ask Denny how long he's going to stay in this house he buys?
I think he already said that. I think he said it was a forever home. Anyway, go ahead.
But
Initial,
he said he's going to stay in it a while.
Right,
But-
so go ahead, Matt, keep going.
Yeah. So Denny, how long are you going to stay in the home?
Well, as I mentioned, we got family in the area, and I've been waiting a long time for this transfer here, so I'm gonna probably retire here.
Okay. So a minimum of 5 to 10 years. Would that be a fair assessment?
Oh, you're so flattering.
So,
Yeah.
but at least 5 to 10 years.
Right,
Okay. So what, understanding you want to wait for rates to come down, what do you think every buyer this side of the universe is doing as well?
now see where he's going, you guys, remember. When someone has an objection, this is worth remembering. Erase the tattoo that Matt said put on your forehead, put this one on instead, or put them both on in smaller print. They have a picture in their mind, okay? And don't fight with their picture. You will always lose. We have to help them see the other picture, one they're not seeing. Go ahead, Matt.
Right. So what's every buyer this side of the universe doing right now? Kind of like what you're doing.
Well, they probably are waiting. A lot of buyers are probably waiting because it's an affordability issue, but it's not an affordability issue for me, Matt.
Right. But would you agree that you all are going to be drinking out of the same trough at one point in time?
So hang on with that thought. You guys, where is he taking me?
To the competition conversation.
All right, which means what, David?
Demand, prices go up.
So all right, well, okay, now you said prices again. That could be it. What else could be going
It could be
on?
harder for you to find your dream home.
All right, so he's taken me to our famous he's taken me to third base paying. All right. So he's not fighting me on my idea. He's just helping me see what I'm not seeing. Well, I imagine people they're waiting for the same thing, low rates, and then probably when they hit 5%, everyone will start to buy.
Sure. Right. And would you say inventory is higher or lower right now?
I don't, that's a great question. I haven't studied the market. What is it?
Right now in our area, we have a neutral market, and in some price ranges, it's a buyer's market. So there's more than enough inventory to go around. What pray tell do you think will happen when every buyer jumps off the fence and decides to play ball?
So just keep that thought. What I want to highlight here is, when is it okay to make a statement? And the answer is, if they ask you a question and you always answer that question with a question, they're going to call 911 on you. So he answered the question and then went back on track with where he wanted to go. So it's okay to do that, because not everyone's going to know. Well, tell me. Oh, well, going back to your question, ask the question again, Matt. My memory's short.
But yeah, no, it's okay. It's so inventory's higher right now. We answered that. So what do you think is going to happen to inventory levels when every buyer jumps off the fence and decides that they're ready to play ball just like you?
Yeah, well, I work for American Airlines. It'd be like selling seats at Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. There's going to be 1 or 2 butts to every seat. Would you agree?
Yep.
Okay. And guys, I'm going to jump out of the role play for a second. So now he's acknowledged that if rates do go down, he's going to be paying more for the property or have more competition. So, and I would have started this out by saying, hey, Denny, you know what? Renting may be the best option for you, but I know he's keeping the home for a long period of time. So the parallel I start to draw, and I'll get to now is, so, Denny, I'll kind of explain it. rates are not a constant, but what do we know on a long enough time scale? And I'll jump back into the role play. So Denny, if understanding that most buyers are going to jump off the fence, they're going to become buyers again as well. What are home values going to do at that point in time, and inventory?
Right. Well, that is the direction to go. And I'll let me put a bow in this one. We'll go into something else because this is
Sure.
Now, is it possible you could be talking to someone like me that I'm playing right now that it's not a money issue, it's making the right decision.
Right.
So making the right decision may not be about getting 5%. If this is going to be my forever home, wouldn't the right decision maybe be have a bigger selection so I can find the right house? That's
Right.
the right decision.
Right. Yep. And that's exactly where I was taking it. I had to address the pain. So if understanding that inventory will likely go down when all the buyers get into the market. I know that it's not a financial issue for you, Denny, at all. You're financially savvy and educated. But what I'm hearing you say is if you don't find a home that meets your wants and needs, that's ultimately what you're concerned about. So which pain would you rather endure? The pain of maybe paying a little more in an interest rate right now, but having a ton of choices, or the pain of you get a little bit less interest rate, but then we're beating buyers off with sticks.
So that if you want to, or taking notes, you guys even watching the video, that is, which is the greater pain question. And we make them all the time, you guys. It's guns and butter, etc. If you're taking an economics class, we sacrifice. We don't get the Tesla. We go ahead and get the Vega. You know what I'm talking about. And don't buy a Vega, by the way.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I think I got what I needed from that, but I'm not in a market like you are. I'm in New Jersey, and I'm in northern New Jersey, and we don't have new construction competing. We don't have new construction. So the only place that I do see, I have to point out the pain that no matter what happens with interest rates, we're still low on inventory.
All right, let's have it. Let's go ahead and role play it. You go ahead. And again, the new construction is not a factor.
It's just literally, I've got 2 months and 2.3 months of inventory pretty much in my county. So
Okay.
that's common for my area.
All right, so good. Great, Denise. You be the buyer, the ones you're dealing with in New Jersey. And by the way, I'm getting ready to go do bowl again, David, in New Jersey. Did you hear that?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, in October. I'm going to be in Jersey City.
You're going to be in my town again?
There you go. So Denise, be the buyer. And let's Brad's got his hand up. We'll go a little round robin on you. Okay, so your objection is what?
There's just not enough homes.
You're a buyer.
I'm a buyer, and I'm ready to buy, but unfortunately I keep losing out because there's not enough homes.
Now, again, when you have a buyer say that, I'm kind of weird. If you give me like my little quirks, I like movies. And I said this today on Recon. When I hear that, the heavens are opening and the angels are singing and there's a big light coming down like Chevy Chase has found the Christmas tree. I mean, that is called what? A motivated buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe they're unrealistic. All right. You're not finding. Okay. So who would like to go first? We're going to have a lightning round here. Who remembers Alan Lunt and Password? I do. That was back in the 60s. All right. Doug, don't raise your hand. That's not a good thing. All right, here we go. You get to ask 2 questions. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go.
So Denise, you say oh boy, how many have you put in an offer already? Have you made some offers and got denied?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you picked out an area that you want to be in?
Yes.
All right, there's your 2 questions. Now, really quick, what did you learn? They were yes or no questions. How far did that advance the ball?
It gave me some information to move forward.
Yeah, but you only need to get 2 questions. You can't solve. Who remembers the game?
Oh, I see how you're playing the game now. Okay.
We're not going to solve the 2 questions. Doug, you're next. I'm just going around. What questions should you ask next?
Denise, have you seen some homes that you would be interested in recently?
Yes.
And what strategy are you taking on your offers for those homes? Let me rephrase that. Are you willing to offer asking price for a home that checks all your boxes, or are you trying to go low?
No, I've had to go in above asking because there are so many people that I understand I'm competing with.
Okay, there's two questions. One was a yes or no, one was open-ended. Okay, I'm going around. Where's David? David, did I lose? David, you're up.
So Denise, what I'm hearing is you said you've put in offers on several properties and you've lost out. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm not gonna count that as a question.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Denise, let me ask you, how did that make you feel?
It was devastating because I am ready to move forward. I want to get out of my rental. I don't want to continue to rent. I know where I want to live, and yet I can't find a home.
So what do you think our next move should be after that?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that.
All right, I'm not gonna say Matt. Matt will have two, but who else wants to play? A gentleman driving with sunglasses. Your name is coming up Sherry, but I'm afraid you'll punch me in the mouth like I call you Sherry. Don't call me Shirley. You know, that's airplane.
Unmute Sherry.
Surely.
There were people are dropping like flies. All right, so Matt, you get two questions.
All right. Did you already say when this is not one? Did you already say when your lease is up? You said you got to be out of a lease, right? Or you want to get out of the rental?
I want to get out of a lease. The lease. So my lease is month to month, and I'm ready to not continue to live there.
Okay. What happens if you don't buy a home?
Well, I want to buy a home.
Right, but what happens if you don't?
I'm stuck in this lease that I'm not able to live my life the way I think I want to live it.
When you say live your life the way you want to live it, what do you mean?
I want more living space. I want control of what I can do in my property. I want to be able to have a yard and not a maintenance company. I am the maintenance company.
He's going to motivation. And I think I gave you a bonus question, Matt. That's straight. I'm not saying you can solve the puzzle in two questions. These are all good questions. Here's where I would go. Okay. Denise, in your opinion, why did you lose out on those homes?
I thought I did everything right. We talked about what properties it sold for. We knew there were other people interested. We went in with a very strong foot, and yet I'm pre-approved, ready to go, and yet I lost out on it, and there's just not a lot of homes to choose from, and every time I go for a home, I'm losing out on it.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I got it. Here's my second question. This is the road I'm going down. And believe me, with only two questions, I'm being careful which one I ask. Here's my next question. If you could go back and do it again, what would you do differently? Now I'll summarize. You made offers, they weren't accepted. I'm going to give you a crystal ball. I'm going to give you a DeLorean with a flux capacitor. Another movie reference. Okay, Back to the Future. You're going to go back where you could make a different offer. What would you do differently?
I'm sorry, and I don't know. I don't know. And that's where the problem is here. We started out with this talking about somebody who was moving to an area and was concerned.
Don't go out of role play. I don't want to know.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what I could do differently. Again, I've put my best foot forward. I feel I've put my best foot forward with every offer, and yet I cannot go to where they went to in price with the offers they took.
All right, so when people are in a situation, a tight market, we've all been there during COVID. It's just not like that for us now in Florida, is it, Matt?
No.
If buyers aren't getting the house, and I'll get Brad, and going back to you, let's see if one more round we can land a plane. If buyers aren't getting the house, with one of two reasons, they're giving their best, but their criteria, they have champagne taste beer budget. If they're giving it their best shot, I mean really best, not trying to eat by, but they're reaching for the brass ring. It is an affordability issue, or it is a will issue. They can afford it, but they're trying to get it on the cheap. One isn't their fault. One is their fault because they're trying to buy a house they can't afford, and the other is totally their fault. So, 2 questions, Brad, really fast. Let's go.
Denise, understanding that you have a budget, would you consider looking at lower priced homes, allowing you the ability to be more competitive if we get counter offers?
Now, I'm just going to editorialize. I mean, that was a pretty good question.
Thank you.
I agree. Yes.
All right, great. So you said your lease is up soon. Let's get started.
I hate that.
Lower price market and go forward. I don't have another question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Doug, you ready?
Let me jump in real quick. Not with a question, Denny. Guys, if you heard her say when I asked my question very intentionally about what why buying is important. She wants a yard. She wants certain things. I'm not going to repeat it because you guys need to grasp that. You know the pain threshold for her. So you know what's important. How can you resolve this with that ammunition? That's all.
I think that Brad is getting her go down that road by, okay, she's willing to buy and she's going for a neighborhood she can't afford. She's going to have to adjust her criteria.
Right.
And so, all right, so we know that. Go ahead and ask the question, Matt. What would be your next question?
So, Denise, of everything that you told me earlier that was important to you about buying, if you had to narrow that down to the 2 things you couldn't live without, what would those be?
A second bathroom.
Right, whatever. But
Yeah.
Here's the thing that he did. Too many of us, like when we're talking to a for sale by owner and expired, well, if I could get you that, you can't say that to her because she can't get it. So an inexperienced agent, well, if I could find that for you, would you buy it? That's like saying to me, if I could get Jennifer Aniston to go out with you, would you do it? Yeah, of course. Why not? So he said, if you could only have 2 of them. So he took something off the table. That's the key. Y'all getting that? You're going to have to back her off her wish list. And then she's going to say, and probably, if Matt heard her right, probably that backyard's going to be in there.
So yeah, you said your 2 bathrooms, and what would the next thing be?
Well, being in a rental, I just can't do anything in the home. I'm specifically just looking to get out of renting.
You want ownership.
Yes.
Right? You want freedom, or I call that agency. Okay. And what if we found you the perfect home? So we're looking at 350 right now, right? Whatever that number is. So if
In
we
New Jersey.
Yeah,
no,
but 7 million.
350 is a starter home in my area.
Okay, great. So and I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible. So what I'm gathering is that if we took away all the things that we wanted to have and we only had 2 things we couldn't live without, it'd be a bathroom, a second bathroom, and it would be just the ownership and autonomy that comes with that. Okay, so if we found a property that gave you those two things, but maybe didn't check every other box. And the good news is it's about $20,000 or $30,000 less than you were looking to buy right now. Would you consider it?
How come I haven't seen it yet?
But
Yeah,
That's just going back to the agent probably didn't show it to me. If it's there, how come I haven't seen it yet is one of those, because maybe we're too focused on the wrong thing for me.
yeah, well, and have we already talked about where? Oh yeah, you've said I know where I want to be. Okay, yep.
so
I can't do it. 2 questions.
I get it. The issue is this: if you're in a tight inventory market, this is the bottom line, and they're getting outbid. They either have to lower their criteria, where they're going to basically find something instead of offering full price or maybe 5% above full price. They're going to have to go down to a lower price range where they can offer 25% above asking price in order to be competitive. So sometimes if they're not getting the house, it's either affordability or their stubbornness. You got to find out which.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Okay, we got 8 minutes. Who's next? What do you want to learn? Stump me. Stump us.
Hey, one more thing, Denise. If you want to connect with me, if this is a real scenario, which it sounds like it is, connect with me on the sidebar. Matthew Sharp. You can get a hold of me. I need to know a little more context. There's a way to help this person. It's just it might not be easy. You know, it may be a lot of hard work, but there may be a way to help them. So connect with me on the side.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't have, thank you, Matt, for doing that. Here's one I got for you if you don't have one. It's come up twice now in my team this week. We have a compensation agreement with our buyer's agency agreement, and we're getting a watermelon. And they're finding a home they want to offer on, and they're giving away an orange. There's a difference between what they agreed to pay us and what the seller is willing to pay. All right. Who wants to take it? You will be representing me as the buyer.
Let me get it right. The seller is not wanting to offer as much fruit to
Yeah,
what the buyer that you've already agreed to.
yes.
Okay. All right. So Denny, what we're looking at here is the fruit. Somebody else go. I lost my thought. Somebody else go.
Maybe I was the example that was made of on that original call. I would imagine it was the guy from corporate. And I threw out numbers, and he said, hold on a second here. We got to do watermelons, apples, oranges. And I think we're all kind of.
Just to think of the size, a watermelon and an orange, okay? There's a difference.
Well, Denny, what I want to do first off is I want to see if I can negotiate with the seller that will help him to compensate accordingly. First off, I'm going to do that. If I'm unsuccessful, then I would come back to you and we could have a conversation again like we did originally on what my fee is. And I think that we can come to an agreement, Denny. Would you like to?
Hang on, Doug.
Okay.
Okay, this is for everyone. You're breaking the 20 to 30-second rule. That's too much talking. When you talk for more than 20 or 30 seconds, you better be getting some kind of interaction from me, because you had like 3 concepts there. Take one concept at a time. Number 2, when you suggested you could come back to me and have a discussion about what we agreed to, I heard you're flexible. Is that the message you wanted to portray?
I don't typically. I don't typically. I typically get what I,
Right, but you were telling Denny, hey, I'm thinking we can make this work, and that you're, in other words, implying it all. And I heard it as well. You didn't use those words like, hey, I'll take a haircut, but the tonality was implying I'm thinking we can make this work. And in the buyer's mind, that's, well, Doug's going to the barber today.
And Doug, when we go, we're not there very long.
I'd be curious to hear how others would handle that.
Okay, good. Well,
That's a tough one.
okay, anyone else want to take it? Happened to me twice this week. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. How many times have you worked as a listing agent and the seller and the offer's there and you're attempting to put it together? The seller asks you to do what?
Get a haircut.
That's right. Or the buyer wants the avocado green refrigerator in the garage and so I'm not giving it up. What's the agent do? Well, I'll buy a new one. Look. This is the same scenario. We're just not used to handling it on the buyer side. So anyone want to take it?
So Denny, you have offered a watermelon in our agreement, and the seller is offering an orange. There is a difference. If I cannot get the seller to adjust his fruit, what are you willing to do?
Are you the agent or are you the buyer? Are you the agent?
I'm the agent, I believe.
Why are you asking me what I'm willing to do? If that's your agreement, that shouldn't even be a question, should it? Now, do I think you should cover this up front? Absolutely.
Right. The reason I was asking what you're willing to do is if we can't get the agreement between the buyer and the seller, we're going to have to move on to something else.
Well, it wouldn't be what are you willing to do? How
would you like to proceed?
able to do it?
There you go.
Matt.
Yeah. Brad, you got any more there?
No, go.
Okay. So we can role play it, or I will, in these situations, I'll just say, hey, Denny, do you remember when we initially met and I explained what my brokerage charges for my services?
Yes.
Okay. And we talked about in some situations, there may be a seller that's not in the position to offer the full compensation my brokerage charges for my services.
Right.
This is one of those situations. Would you be opposed to me asking them to pay it so that you don't have to?
Well, so let me ask you, I mean, you all are always very intentional and strategic about how you ask the question. I'm not in role play. Why would you ask me that question that way? It's not a function that I'm agreeable or not. I mean, that's the path you have to take.
Right. So even though it's negotiated and signed at the beginning, I always like to set that expectation of I'm going to do everything that I can to negotiate this from the seller so that you don't have to pay it, even if they're not offering it. So meaning, this is what I charge for my services. In some situations, the seller won't be in the position to pay it. I just want to remind them of that conversation so that then when they say, oh, no, not at all, I'd be happy to, absolutely you can ask for it. So then we'll write it up in the offer and I send it over. And then let's say the seller kicks it back and says, pound sand, Matthew. So then then I'll explain, hey, this is what the seller countered us at. What do you think we should do? Okay. And then lastly, they're going to say, well, I don't know. Or they may say, hey, I want to find another house. I've had that happen before. But they may say, I don't know. And I'll say, well, can I make a recommendation? So we're one peanut apart. How would you feel if instead of doing it this way and maybe say this way is blatantly asking them to pay the difference? How would you feel about if we just take this off the table? And I'm gonna ask this for some seller concession. And so you agree to this price, yes? Okay, great. Well, I'm going to take this off the table because it seems like they're hung up on this, paying me. But if I could get you some concessions so that you don't have to come out of pocket anymore, would you be opposed to that?
So I'm going to pause you right there. And I think I want you guys to listen to that. I didn't know he was going to go down there, but that is an aha that I've had because it's come up twice this week. Number one, what I'm teaching my people, don't cave if you have a strong value proposition. And if they give you pushback up front, how do we push back on the seller that they said, well, my neighbor said they do it for less? Oh, So you're not interested in having an agent that can negotiate for your benefit? I mean, we're gonna have to have the same conversation with them. And here's my other aha and Matt brought this up. If you put it in there as your compensation, it will be a unicorn. It will be, how do I say this? It will become blatantly obvious that, and one of the contracts we worked on, that the seller actually got upset. I'm only offering 2.5, and you're asking for this. When realistically, you could disguise that difference in how much they offer. And now you're just negotiating purchase price, which is what? The seller's net or compensation. So it is more palatable. This is kind of an aha I had this week, Matt. If you don't have the discussion on compensation because sellers feel like they've just been liberated and they don't want to pay that, somehow structure it in the offer. That's
Yep.
what.
So yeah, 100% Denny, and I'll round with this. Guys, one of my mentors, always, well, family member, he always said, never get in the commission conversation with your client. And I've been able to carry that with me through my career to have conversations like this. So my business, when this lever flipped and all of a sudden, blah, 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 commissions, whatever, buyer's agents and all this, that, and the other, when that lever flipped, my business literally didn't change. Because I've been writing offers this way for almost 20 years now, where I get seller concession from the seller for inferior commissions, because I've always charged more. I get seller concession from the seller, and then the buyer just credits it me, and they don't have to write a check for it. And I explain that to my clients up front. But to Denny's point, the stigma around commission is the problem in most cases. The seller's negotiating for their net. There are triggering terms. A triggering term is, I want you to pay me 1%. I want you to pay 1% more to the buyer's agent. Forget that. Just negotiate it as a seller concession. Get the buyer to pay it if they agree to. And the sellers won't see it as a bee sting. They'll just say, okay, I'm just accepting a little bit less for the house.
Yeah, you had the right word, trigger word. That's the word I was looking for. So thank you for that. You guys, what did you learn today? Give me a couple of ahas for all of us, because everyone pitched in, and share that, and I'll let you go to happy hour.
I really like something that Matt said was be more interested than interesting. And I blew that on my first time, but I really like that, Matt. Thank you.
Well, did you like anything I said? Never mind. All right, give me another aha.
No ego. How can I be of service? And the other thing is, how would you like to proceed? I like those two very well.
Another Matt. All right, I'm getting bored
Well,
now.
hey man, you put this thing together, and we'll give you all the credit.
Denny, I wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you, my dear friend.
Anything I said.
No, actually, Denny, I like one thing that I took away, and it was a question you asked Denise, and I don't even remember the question now. So unfortunately, I can't have this very prolific moment, but it was the way that you took the direction of the conversation, kind of like what are you willing to do different? And in a market like Denise, where you still have no inventory and a starter home is $350 and your client's maxing out their budget, guys, again, that goes back to like what Doug said, the aha of be more interested than interesting. You have to ask questions in such a way that you're being curious about what they're willing to do. So like, hey, what if we see the right property, what are we going to do different this time?
Yes, if you can make them admit to something they would do different, like, I've been written for 4 years, I should have bought 3 years ago. Okay, if you can have them admit they made a mistake in the past, then your whole conversation is, well, we don't want to repeat that again, do we? So
right, and it's touching on pain without touching on pain, meaning like, I want to buy a house because I want more square footage, I want to have autonomy and ownership, and I want to have a yard and a second bathroom. And you didn't touch on any of that. It's like, hey, what are we willing to do different moving forward? So they're thinking about the pain and what they're going to do to avoid it.
Well, you guys are great. Next week, I'll work really hard to have something meaningful to say, and I did have something meaningful to say, but Matt couldn't remember it, so I'm just gonna call. So I'm gonna call it a day. So thank you much for being on. And David, you better be there. And who else? Denise, you're in New Jersey. Where in New Jersey are you?
I'm all the way up in Sussex County. I won't go out to Jersey City.
Well, I'm also going to.
David-
I'm going to.
David,
Vineland.
I've been to Jersey City. We spent a week there, my friend. We had a wonderful time. We got
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
looking right at the lady, and we took
Yep.
the train to the city every single day. Man, we loved it.
You
Well, I
already
while you
know.
were there a week, you were looking for a parking spot. You guys have.
It'll
A,
take me 2 hours to get to you, unfortunately, because of no public transportation. So love
I
you,
love-
meet it.
love you, minute, you guys. Thanks for being on. Bye. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. Thank